Good morning. It is Saturday of Holy Week. It is the 19th of April. Our Lenten reading is Hebrews 4:14 through 5:10. And our Holy Week reading is Luke 23:55 and 56. And I'm going to be reading Matthew 27:62 to 64. Hope that's enough different passages to confuse you. Just kidding. The next day, which is the day after the day of preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees assembled before Pilate and said, "Sir, we remember that while that deceiver was still alive, he said, 'After 3 days I will rise again.' So give orders to secure the tomb until the 3rd day. Otherwise, the disciples may come and steal his body and say to the people, 'He has been raised from the dead,' and the last deception will be worse than the first." What I always find interesting about this one is his enemies seem to understand what he said more than the disciples did. They heard and understood that he had said he was going to be resurrected. Meanwhile, the disciples are in hiding, which also is, in a sense, kind of amusing in that the powers that be wanted the tomb sealed and a guard placed in front of it because they didn't want the disciples coming and stealing the body, and the disciples were too afraid to do even anything close to that. And so this is why this all happened, is it becomes part of the evidence. So if you look at the evidence, there was no way the disciples could have stolen the body, even though that's one of the stories that was later spread around, that nobody could have broken into the tomb because the Roman guards would never have allowed that. And so all of this was put in place by God to reinforce the reality of what we're going to see tomorrow. But his enemies were so fearful that if the story got around he was resurrected, then they were right. Their problems would be greater than when he was still there teaching. And they were, because not only was the first church made up entirely of Jewish believers at the very beginning, but some of the priests and the council and the Sanhedrin and all of these groups, some of the people in all of them ended up believing and following after Jesus as the Messiah. And so they were right. It was only going to get worse, but not for the reasons they thought, because of course they didn't believe he would be resurrected, but they knew even the rumor or a missing body would create nothing but trouble for them. And tomorrow we'll see how that all works out. So have a quiet Saturday as we move closer to Resurrection Sunday, and I'll see you again tomorrow.